Hey, Husker fans, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette, and we're back here on this Thursday to talk some more Nebraska athletics. We have a bunch of news to analyze this week as Jase Reynolds coming into the Huskers, adding to the 2026 class. We also have a new basketball player on the roster for Nebraska. We have some movement in the House settlement, things kind of getting a little bit crazier. So we'll talk about that, what roster limits could mean for Nebraska this season, and also take a gander at some of the post-spring top 25s and see what we think about where the Huskers are kind of falling in those right now. So before we get to all that, make sure that you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get into the comment section. Danny, how are you on this Thursday morning?
I'm doing well. Like you said, a busy time of year, I guess now, a busy week. So I'm excited to talk some shop with you, as they say.
Yeah, so we'll go back, I guess, in time to earlier Monday, as Jase Reynolds, the in-state linebacker committed to Nebraska, 6'3", 210 pounds. I mean, somewhere in there. You never quite know about the measurements, but not a lot of buzz about this one. There weren't. I mean, he'd already kind of been projected to Nebraska, but just kind of came out of nowhere. He did visit recently for the Husker games. So yeah, an in-state commitment. I know there's been a lot of talk about in-state commitments. There's probably not going to be a ton in this class, but I do like what they got in Jase Reynolds. What are your thoughts about his commitment and what he could bring to the defense?
I think he's a nice depth piece for this linebacking group, and that's not a shot at him. That's just a testament to the fact that this linebacker group is going to be stacked. And, I think it's important to keep kids home, and I know a lot of fans really want to hone in on that point. But I think you kind of alluded to a good point here, too. I don't think this class in particular is going to be too big. I think we're going to see a lot of transfer portal pickups, and I think we're definitely going to see some commitments, but nowadays the game is built through the transfer portal. And like we talked about on Monday, Matt Rule is, one of his calling cards is player development at the high school level, and now even he's transitioning to the portal. So I think it's a sign of the times for college football.
Yeah, in terms of Jase Reynolds, I think what he can bring, honestly, my comp to him might be like a JoJo Domon type. I don't think he's really going to be. I don't really see him as an edge. I don't really necessarily see him as a jack, but I do think he's got some pass rush ability. He can also cover
Yep.
sideline to sideline. So even though Nebraska really doesn't have that nickel role of that linebacker, he kind of would fit into that. I think an off-ball linebacker who can potentially add some things in the pass rush. So I mean, he could be a jack. It just depends how he kind of develops, but I think he has a chance to play at both positions. I think anytime you can have a guy that's a good athlete who can cover and who could provide some pass rush, I think that gives you a lot of options. So I like where his game could be. It's his ranking has been interesting because he was ranked as a 3-star from 24/7 Sports, then he was not ranked at all, and then after he committed, of course, they rank him again as a 3-star, which to me makes zero sense. It's like, what, your evaluation should not change based on where a player is committed to. I mean, you know what I mean? Your evaluation should be your evaluation, and that to me speaks to the laziness of the scouting community. Especially, I think 24/7 Sports is pretty lazy. They just don't
Yeah.
evaluate players like On3 does. I mean, frankly, so they're kind of falling by the wayside. Long story short, I really wouldn't worry about the ranking. I mean, I know he's in the 1100s,
Yeah.
but I trust Matt Rule and his staff and their scouting eye much more than anybody from 24/7 or On3. So I like this commitment. I don't think he's a guy that's going to come in and play right away, but I do think he has a chance to be a contributing linebacker down the road.
I need to find where I can apply for these ranking jobs and these scouting jobs because I think I could fit right in there. But anyway, um, I think JoJo Demond is a great comparison. And, JoJo was a great player, quite honestly, on some really bad defenses. So, I think when you look at his athleticism, meaning Reynolds' athleticism, like you said, he can kind of rush the passer. He can, kind of play that jack role. And one of the things that JoJo is really good at doing that I could see here with Reynolds is kind of not playing a safety role, but not necessarily sticking to the linebacker position solely on the field as well. He moved around a lot. He, played in coverage. He was always flying around the football. And so if Reynolds could even be, 75% of what JoJo was, I'd consider that a victory.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see how that works out. I mean, like we said, there's not going to be a ton of In-state commitments, Isaac Jensen, who is probably the top-rated kid, the tight end, he canceled his visit to Nebraska. So, I mean, things could change. They could get back into it, but doesn't really seem like it. Darian Jones is the other one, the younger brother of Donovan Jones. Nebraska's kind of battling Iowa State there. So, not super clear if they're going to win that recruitment. I feel like they will. Most of the time, if Matt Rule wants an in-state recruit, he ends up getting him. So, I'd be surprised if they missed out on Darian Jones.
I mean, watch out for Iowa State. They've been doing a good job of cleaning up Nebraska. So, I mean, but yeah, if Nebraska really wants a kid, they'll get him. So, I think Jones is definitely one to watch. Jensen kind of stings as far as missing out on him, presumably, but I think there's a solid recruiting plan in place, and there's a solid roster building plan in place for the future. So I'm not too worried.
All righty, let's shift to basketball, and then we'll shift back to football to talk about these roster limits. So sorry, we're going to bounce around just a little bit, but Leo
No
Curtis,
pun intended, basketball.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit on Monday, and it seemed like it was kind of trending in this direction. And then yesterday, you had the Nebraska basketball team tweeting, like the celebration of the Iceland soccer team. So that was pretty apparent what that meant. And then Leo Curtis committed yesterday afternoon or morning, whatever. 7'1". He's ranked in the top 100. According to On3, he's like 96th overall in the 24/7 composite ranking. So he's actually one of the highest rated recruits or commitments in Nebraska basketball history. But 7'1", he's played for the Iceland U20 national team. Shoots the ball really well. He honestly reminds me, my comp, and this be a little bit crazy, but Kristaps Porzingis or whatever, however you pronounce his name, that's what this guy reminds me of. The way he shoots,
Wow, okay.
defends. I mean,
All
I'm not
right.
saying that he's going to be that, but when you watch him, I mean, he does have some of those abilities. I mean, I caution people. I'm not saying that he's going to be that right away. I don't think he's even going to play very much this season. I'd be surprised if I wouldn't surprise me if he redshirted this season, to be honest. Like, I know he's ranked recruiting highly, but like, don't expect him to come in and play heavy minutes this season, because there's a log jam at center, and most freshmen just aren't ready for college basketball.
And this might be just my cynicism talking here, but I remember having the same conversation about Wilhelm Breidenbach. Similar profile, similar type of recruit, 4-star, highly rated, and he never panned out. So I don't know. I love what Curtis brings to the game. I think he's a little bit better than Breidenbach in terms of shooting and things like that. But it seems like whenever Fred lands a big-time recruit, they can never develop. So I'm hoping Curtis can develop.
Well, I mean, it's hard because, like, who was the guy that's in the NBA now? Oh, McGowan's. I mean, Bryce had a good season. He just, if he would have came back for his second year, he would have been, all Big Ten. So it's just, that's kind of the difficult thing is when you get the players that are good enough to play right away, they still aren't ready to play right away, because college basketball, there's just so much more, it's usually defense too. It's usually that's where they struggle, because, in high school basketball, if you're kind of lazy on a contest, like, it doesn't really matter that much. But if you, half-ass a contest in the Big Ten, that's 3 points. And you do that 2 or 3 times in a game, and that's the difference between winning and losing. I mean, literally. Like, you can't, that's why playing freshmen is so hard, because they're just not ready for it. And then by the time they are, so basically you have to spend a year, like playing a guy with like Bryce McGowan's, right? You just have to live with the growing pains and all the freshman dumb stuff that he's going to do, because he has all the talent, but then he's going to go to the NBA. So then you don't even get, the payoff of it. And so that's part of the issue with high school recruiting. And that's why I think international recruits make a lot of sense for Nebraska, because I don't think that they're going to come in. A lot of them are more developmental prospects. There's not as many guys that are going to come in here. Like, I don't think Leo Curtis is coming to Nebraska being like, oh, if I don't play 15 minutes a game next year, I'm transferring. Like, that's, I mean, he could. I'm not saying, and that is a concern. Like, Fred needs to keep him on this roster beyond next season. Like, that's my biggest concern, because you look at, they've got Oogie, they've got Rink Mass, they've got Berke Buikatencel. They just picked up Garcia. Is that his name? Jared Garcia.
Yeah, Jared Garcia, yeah.
I mean, so that's going to be your front court. Those 4 guys are going to play. I mean, I have no question in my mind about that. If there's some injuries, then yeah, sure. And he could play a little bit, but like, don't get the idea that, Leo Curtis is going to come in here and be part of this rotation, because like, I mean, it's nice to add pieces to a roster, and Nebraska's got 16 now, but like, this isn't fantasy sports. Like, you can only have so many guys in the rotation. And I don't think Nebraska's adding somebody this late that's really going to play heavy minutes. Like, I just don't. So he could surprise me. And like, maybe if Frank gets hurt or somebody gets hurt, I think he'd be a nice backup option. He's played in the U20, so he's played at high levels of competition. But even then, he only averaged like 5 points and 4 rebounds. So I mean, he shoots, I think, 42%. I saw some of the highlights of him playing. I think they call D1 Iceland, which I'm not sure what the hell that is, but
I think it's the second level of basketball in Iceland. So that's what I've heard. So the way I think that goes is like maybe like NBA, like NBA G League, and he's in the G League of Iceland. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw some of the highlights though, and some of these guys look like midgets. So I'm like I feel like the quality of the professional basketball is not like it looked like a high school kid playing against middle schoolers, but he did shoot the ball well. I think he's got a good chance to be a good shot blocker. I think he could be I think he could be an NBA draft pick. I really do, but it's going to take him some time, and I hope that Fred can keep him here for 2 or 3 years, because I think if they can get him here past next year, when Rank and all these guys leave, having him for 2-3 years, that sophomore, junior year, like that's the sweet spot for top 100 recruits. And I think he really could be a cornerstone for this program, if they're able to keep him and develop him.
And, pretty soon we're going to have like, I'm so happy his name is Leo Curtis and not another name where I have to try to pronounce it, because we have an all name team as well as an all international team here. And so Leo Curtis, I mean, that right there is a victory for me, because I hate mispronouncing guys' names. And no, he's going to be interesting to follow, playing in Massachusetts. And I looked at the Massachusetts rankings for the 2025 class, and there were only like 2 guys that were ranked, both 4-star prospects, though, from the same school. So it was interesting.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. He definitely played in America. I haven't really seen a ton of stats from that, so I mean, that would be kind of interesting to see how he did there.
It's hard to find his stats, so.
But he's got all the skills, and I think, he's probably looked at what Fred has done with guys like Bryce Williams and Casey, Rank Mass. I mean, he's improved all their draft stock. Sam Griesel, I mean, Josiah Alec. I know there's guys that aren't playing in the NBA, but they're all playing professional basketball. So I mean, that's one thing where I think Fred can have kind of a niche with some of these guys that maybe aren't NBA level but are close. And it's still like, I mean, Juwan Gary's not an NBA player, but he's good enough to play like in Europe. You know what I mean? And he's good enough to be a contributor in the Big Ten. And so I think Nebraska can still find a lot of talented players. And then every once in a while, you need to luck into an NBA guy. Like if you're gonna ever win consistently, like in the NCAA tournament, I know this is like way down the road. They've never won a single game, but you do have to have NBA players to win NCAA tournament games most of the time. I mean, that's just how it is. Like Michigan went from, being a really crappy team to being a team that made it to the Sweet 16. How did they do that? They added Danny Wolf, who's going to be a first-round pick, and Vlad Golden, who's probably, might get drafted, but at least is going to get signed. So you have 2 NBA players. That's how you do it. And so at some point, like, Nebraska needs to luck into some of those guys. I mean, Bryce Williams, I think, is one. Casey, like, so they've done it. They just need to consistently get guys that are like fringe NBA players, and then you need to keep those fringe NBA players on your team as long as possible. Like that's what good teams do, outside of the teams like Duke that just get like the Zion Williamsons, and that's never going to be Nebraska. So
yeah, I definitely agree there. And it's interesting that that Curtis is the second player in the 2025 recruiting class. So I mean, they're taking a lighter class, to say the least. I think Quentin Rhymes will be good too, but no, I think Curtis was a great pickup, and I kind of thought this would happen because, when he came to visit Sunday, I didn't think there was a chance that he would leave without, Nebraska making a push, especially this late in the 2025 cycle.
And so you look at so Quentin Rhymes is the other one that Nebraska added, and he's also a 4-star recruit. So he's ranked 108th overall. So you look at, this 2024 class for Nebraska, you've got, according to the composite rankings, a guy that's ranked 108th and a guy that's ranked 97th. I don't know what Quentin Rhymes' ranking is via On3. I could look it up here in a second. But so, I mean, that gives you two guys, basically, if you're ranked in the top 108, the top 125, like in my opinion, you should develop into a long-term starter. So I feel like this is a really strong, we talked about high school recruiting, I feel like this is as strong as you can do if you're Fred Hoiberg with high school recruiting. I think any team that is taking beyond, 2 or 3 recruits, like that's going to be pretty risky unless you're really investing in that strategy of developing young talent and playing those guys early. So I like what they're doing. I like that they're, like I said, investing more in international talent. And I like where this roster is headed for next season and long term. So
Yeah, and this isn't like football where you can recruit like 15 guys for one class, and so you really kind of have to be selective in college basketball. And I think Fred has been here for this class, and his sweet spot, honestly, is the transfer portal. So, I mean, he's done a good job there too. So overall, I think it's been a really solid offseason for the program.
yeah, Fred's always done well in the portal, even when he was at Iowa State. Like he did the portal before it was even cool, really. But yeah, Kendall Blue hopefully needs to be a hit. Oogie needs to be a hit. But if they land on those guys, then I think they're going to have a chance to be a pretty good team next year. So and then let's switch to roster limits, which will also be affected. Actually, basketball will be, and in some ways because they're like Leo Curtis is the 16th player on their team right now. And so they're kind of already banking on basically those roster limits not counting, which is what's going to happen, I believe. So with this house settlement issue, the NCAA came back with a proposal that essentially it doesn't require teams to grandfather players in, but it allows them to essentially up to, I believe it would be through the next 4 years to this 2025 class. So that's how I've read it. So essentially, it would almost be like COVID again, where you had the COVID years. So all these guys that are from this 2025 class and beyond would be exempt from these roster limits. So it's going to get really complicated. I don't know if this judge is going to accept that or not. She is opening the door for the objectors to that to file a response, and then she's going to rule on it, I think sometime next week. And so it could get really crazy if she rejects this settlement, because everybody in college athletics has been operating under the assumption that it's going to happen. So like they're getting ready to pay players, they have contracts ready, like yada yada yada. So if this doesn't happen, it's going to be insane. It's going to be the Wild West. It's not going to be that bad for Nebraska because the state legislature already has things. Basically, they have a bill in motion already to allow Nebraska to pay players directly, which every state's going to start running and doing. They're going to have to, because I mean, if Nebraska and Pennsylvania and some of the other states or whatever can pay, every state's going to have to do it. They're just going to have to. And I know that President Donald Trump has been, appointing Nick, like get out of here with Nick Saban. Like I'm so sick of Nick Saban trying to, talk about the morality of college sports and not paying players. Like if you're going to appoint Nick Saban as the leader of anything, then it's a complete sham, because that dude is a sham. Like he's a great football coach, but like I guarantee you that few coaches have dropped more money bags than Nick Saban in the history of college football. Like he would not have won a single national championship without paying players. There's like no chance. So,
and I love that people are seeing the hypocrisy of appointing Nick Saban, because I mean, give me a break. Ever since he retired,
the other guy,
girls. Come on now.
And then the other guy is some billionaire from Texas. So it's like, what are we even doing here? And I thought it was a joke. Like when I saw Pete Nakos reported to some Texas guy who sold his billions in oil money. I think he's been funding Texas Tech's NIL operation. They're like, yeah, let's make this guy the co whatever it is, the leader with Nick Saban. I thought it was a joke. I literally thought it was a joke, but it actually is happening. So it's just like, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's an absolute joke.
The government should not be involved in college athletics.
No, especially it's not with Nick's. And I saw somebody that said something pretty poignant. Was are there going to be any college athletes on this panel to save college athletes? It's like
it's like I don't get why Nick Saban is getting off on trying to fix this problem. I mean, just enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, it's like Mr. Moneybags. Well, it's just interesting. You look at the guy who used to coach for Nick Saban, went to Tennessee and got busted, and doing all that stuff, and it's like, wonder where he learned that. I bet he didn't do any of that stuff at Alabama.
No connections there. Yeah.
I'm sure the day he stepped on campus at Tennessee, he was like, I'm going to start paying players like crazy. No, he was doing that the entire time at Alabama. Nick Saban was doing that at LSU. Urban Meyer was doing that at Ohio State. Like all of those guys. I don't think of those guys could have won a single national championship without paying players. Like that's just how it is. So, anyways, but this roster limits, I think will be, I guess, good for Nebraska because if you're talking about, choosing to have your roster limit, Nebraska's going to do that. They'll fully roster up, in my opinion. And they'll keep all those guys that stuck around that Matt Rule's been talking about. Will get to stay, I think. So that'll be a good thing for Nebraska.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a good thing, and you can never have too much depth, and so I'm kind of interested to see how this is all going to play out. But I hope things go well next week.
It's good news for your guy Teddy Prochazka, guys like him.
I was going to try to not mention either Teddy or Turner during this, and yeah.
I actually saw, I can't remember who this was. It's like an O-line expert that, I don't know if he's a fan or something, but he actually, when they said like what was your preferred starting lineup, he threw Teddy in there as his right tackle. That's who he said. I can't remember who I'm sure you could find it. I don't know if you've seen the clip, but
so are you sure this tweet was from 2025 and not 2021?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
I'm okay,
yeah.
cool. I know, I was just making sure.
Yeah, it was I can't remember, it was either like Hail Varsity or it might have been Damon Benning. And because the guys were like, oh, really? And I didn't listen to the whole thing. It was more but yeah. So, I mean, if he could be 100% healthy, I mean, yeah, when he's been out there, he's been healthy, but he hasn't played in almost 2 years. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I doubt that happens, but maybe if there's an injury to somebody else, he'll get his shot.
Let's call Scott Frost back and see if he wants to run some option plays while we're at it, I guess. I mean, Jesus. It's 4 years of the same stuff over and over again. What do they say about the definition of insanity? I don't know. Speaking of Scott Frost, actually, this made me think of this. What did you think of his comments he made the other day about?
I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I was going to mention that too. I don't know. People made me go. I don't know. It's just
people made you go to where you had the keys to the castle, got a nice fat check. Yeah, people really, the conditions were so hard. I'm rooting for him and at UCF, but to say people made you go, I mean, there were millions of dollars and millions of reasons why he went to Nebraska. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't really like what he said either, but it's like I don't know why he needs to keep like kind of explaining it away. Just be like it wasn't successful. You weren't successful. Just move on with it and like put it past you. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of Nebraska people are rooting for him, and I am. I mean, I still want Scott Frost to succeed. I will never. I don't. I think he wanted to win at Nebraska. I think I maybe have been unfair to him even at times.
Yeah, me too.
Like I think he did give it for the most part his best. I think that there were things that went on that distracted him from the job. That if he could go back and do things over again, I think he would do it differently, and I think that would help him be more successful. And none of that stuff has anything to do with football. And I think that some of that stuff did set him back.
Yeah. Like all joking aside, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like, if you're not mentally 100%, focused on what you're supposed to be doing, like if you have other things going on that are distracting, you're not going to do your job very well. And that's if you're like a gas station attendant at Town Pump or whatever, as opposed to being the head coach at Nebraska, which is an extremely pressure cooker job. Yeah. And that's even for somebody like Matt Rule, not the golden boy who led the team to a national championship. So
Matt Rule's been fired like 5 times already as a fan. So
yeah. So I mean, and he didn't come with all the other stuff of like, this is the savior that's gonna, you know what I mean? I mean, he did come with that a little bit, but not in the same way that Scott Frost did. So like, I do want him to have success, and I will always appreciate what he did as a player, but just like stop talking about Nebraska, man. Just be like, I don't, didn't work out. Like, I just don't know why he keeps saying things like this to try to like mitigate what happened. It seems like to me, just be like, I didn't do a good job. I'm fortunate for this and that's kind of what he has done in some ways, but I don't know. And it's like, why do these reporters keep asking him about it? Like, it's so annoying to me. Just move on.
I still like him more than Trev Alberts, though. I don't think anybody can make me hate someone as much as Trev Alberts.
And like I said, Scott Frost is always, he's had a complicated relationship with
Yeah.
Nebraska because he turned down Tom Osborne for Bill Walsh in Stanford. Then he transferred back, and then he replaced, Tommy Frazier. And then his first year, they struggled a little bit, and by struggled, they lost 2 games, and finished in the top 5. That was
I hope for those struggles this year.
that was a struggle for Nebraska. They lost 2 games to the second game of the season. Then they got upset in the Big 12 championship game, and that was a terrible season. They won the Orange Bowl, and that was a terrible failure of a season almost.
I love those terrible failures of seasons.
I know. And then, of course, they had the kick 6, and then helped win the national championship. Kicked Peyton Manning's ass in the Orange Bowl. Of course, the defense may have had a thing or two to do with it. Amon Green as well, but still, I'll never forget. I'll always love Scott Frost for that. But
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, his tenure as the head coach was not great. But oh well.
I mean, I'm definitely rooting for him. Him against Bill Belichick is going to be interesting. Talk about a sticky situation over at UNC and poor Bill. I mean, I don't want to say.
I think a sticky situation is a good descriptor of what's been going on.
I don't want to say too
Bill
much
Belichick.
out of turn here, but Jordan Hudson's wealth has increased by $8 million since she met Bill Belichick, and I don't think that's an accident.
Hey man, Bill's doing.
If it works out for everybody, then why not? I guess I don't know.
I mean, Bill's like, I've won Super Bowls, but I've never had a young girlfriend. I guess I'm not really sure what Bill's thinking, but I don't think Bill cares really, to be honest.
So she's like, oh, I've never had $8 million, so let me get that in like 2 months.
I know. Hey man, being Bill Belichick's girlfriend's a good paying job.
I guess. I mean, maybe we chose the wrong careers. I guess I don't know.
Sean Callahan did predict that Bill's only going to make it 2 years there, so I don't know what you think about that.
And I don't think it's going to be because of him. But anyway,
yeah,
because isn't she his like PR person now too?
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a mess. That's a mess.
It's like he should have just left her as the girlfriend, but she's
Bill, blink twice if you're in danger. Anyways, post spring top 25 for Nebraska. Hopefully, no
his next press conference, he's just like, like, why is Bill Belichick blinking like that? It's for you, Danny. You got to get him out of there.
Anyways, blink twice if you're in danger of falling and drinking the Kool-Aid for the post spring top 25 rankings. I know I am. Ooh. We see these every year. So.
Who's drinking the Kool-Aid, now that you mentioned that, is Pat McAfee. Did you see what he said the other night on Raw?
Yeah, and he kind of said, like, they finished hot to end the season. I'm like, we limped our way to the Pinstripe Bowl, but I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm not sure how how accurate I'm going to take that prediction. I mean, we did win 2 of the last 3 games, so I guess that's not really. They lost like 5 out of the last 6, so I wouldn't really say that's finishing on a tear. But
we lived our way. We had 2 offensive coordinators who were hanging on with the same offensive system just to get to a bowl game. We lived our way.
And then he's like, I think they're all the way back, which had people, So
I don't know about that yet.
I'm assuming that he meant like this season he thinks they'll be back. I'm not really sure what he's talking about.
Well, I mean, I can see that because year 3 is the year that Matt Rule kind of gets things going. So I don't know.
I do think this is the roster to do it. So
yeah, I do too.
It'll be interesting. And now they won't have Sharon Moore for the Michigan game, so I think that'll be interesting. And I really don't think that that's a slight for Nebraska. He just I think he's getting honored for one of the Oklahoma national championship teams. So
he is.
So like honestly, I think Michigan's going to be like, this is a pretty important game that we had him suspended for. But I know Nebraska fans are going to be frothing though, and that makes that game. I feel like that's really going to be a must win. Like that's going to be.
I think they have a good shot to win it. Honestly,
no, I think they do too. I thought they did before.
Yeah,
I just think that now it's really going to look bad for Matt Rule if they don't win that game because fans are going to be
Akron at the postseason ban.
Yeah, do you know why?
Because I didn't read fully up on it. I just saw the postseason ban, but
they're too dumb to make the postseason. Their GPA.
Oh yeah, because their academic rates were low. Well,
their academic rating is so low, and I know that. I'm sorry, they're not too dumb to make it. I mean, but that's just like. That's like the mean headline you can make of it. Like,
well, if you don't get your grades done, you're dumb in the sense that you're not taking responsibility. Because I
Yeah.
guarantee you the requirements to be on the team grade-wise are not that high.
Yeah, they can't be. The academic requirements for college football teams to make bowl games cannot
Yeah,
be that high. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'm not trying to insult any college football players, but I'll tell you this. So I did go to school at one of the colleges that I attended. I attended a few, but I took a class from the football coach, and there was like 60 players on the team. Okay, and this was like
yep.
history 101. And
I did the
so
exact same thing.
one of our midterms was a take-home midterm.
Yep,
Okay, it was a
yep,
take-home midterm, open book. A good chunk of the players still did not pass it.
yep,
Okay, and the coach was up there like, "You guys, I literally." He's like, "This was open book." Like, so the class literally was there to help his players stay
yep,
eligible, and they still could barely do it.
yep.
And so, I mean, but yeah, I did see that about Akron,
That
which I
was the
thought was
same at
funny.
my D3 school. Like they had a class with the coach. The coach is very lenient about, the assignments and the work and stuff like that. And, half the battle was showing up. If you just show up, chances are you're going to pass. So while you may not be dumb mentally, you're dumb for not taking responsibility and at least showing up and doing enough work to pass collectively as a team.
But anyway, to now talk about some top 25 post spring top 25. So JD Pickle has Nebraska 25. And then Joel Klatt actually doesn't have Nebraska in his top 25, which I think is simply because he hates Nebraska from his time at Colorado. So I mean, I'm kidding. I think that Joel's actually pretty fair, but
No, he's fair for Nebraska, I think.
I think Andy Staples had him in there in his post spring top 25. I think Ari Wasserman may have as well. So in most of them, Nebraska's kind of ending up like 25th, 24th,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. So if you were putting together a spring top 25, where do you think you'd put Nebraska?
Probably 25 because we still, they are coming off a pinstripe bowl win. We still have a young quarterback. I wouldn't put them any higher than 25. Quite honestly, as much as I love them being in the post spring rankings, I kind of don't at the same time because I like kind of playing the underdog role.
I mean, yeah, it's like, I honestly would like to see just like earn the ranking. I know Nebraska's
Yeah.
probably there's a good chance we'll get ranked because like anytime any team like Nebraska, and this is where, it could be Florida, Miami, Notre Dame, Michigan, USC, like if any of those teams are like somewhat decent and had like a 500 season, they're always going to be ranked. That's just and it's based on, who you are and your kind of your brand. And
Especially Notre
Nebraska,
Dame.
yeah, for sure. Although they are going to be pretty good this year, I think.
They
At
are, but
least their offensive line. But so like I do think Nebraska is probably one of the best 25 teams, but they got to prove it though. I mean, I thought they were one of the top 25 teams last year, and they didn't the results didn't bear out that way because they couldn't close the deal in close games. So I'd like to see them like actually go out and beat some really good teams. And I don't know, I guess, if you beat Cincinnati the first week, I mean, maybe that's good enough. They're not like a cakewalk.
Cincinnati's
So
not that good. I don't know about. I mean, I don't know about that one, but
yeah, maybe not, but like, yeah, because
you start 3-0 heading into Michigan. Maybe what is it? Week 4 Michigan, so 3-0.
yeah,
Because we
and
got
then
Akron and then Houston Christian. Is that right?
yeah, they'd be Houston
I
Christian.
didn't
Yeah,
even know
so
they had a football team. So there you go.
so yeah, I mean, if you're 3-0 there, then you'll probably be ranked, and then if Michigan, I don't know what they're. We'll see. I'm not sure. I just don't know what to expect from them this season. I know their defense is going to be really good, and I think their defense is going to be as good as any in the Big Ten. It's just how good is Bryce Underwood going to be this year? But at the same time, I mean, they beat they beat Ohio State, in Columbus, Ohio, and their quarterback threw for like 50 yards. I mean, and then they beat number 15 Alabama, and they couldn't complete a pass. So, if Bryce Underwood can complete like 10 to 15 passes a game, I don't know. This team, Michigan could be pretty good. But outside of that, I mean, Michigan, they play USC on the road this year, at home this year,
Yep.
right?
USC at home, UCLA on the road.
Yeah, and then Penn State. So I mean, it's not the schedule's definitely there for them to.
My favorite quarterback, Drew Aller.
I know, but it's man. Did you read that story about the defensive coordinator going from Jim Knowles? Yeah. Texted James Franklin at 5:06 a.m. 2 days after to go to Penn State. That's pretty wild to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe I don't know. Like that is a really weird thing to do. I can't even defend it, but I mean, to go to your rival like that.
I mean, he is from Pennsylvania, so like he grew up in Philly. So I don't know if that played a role, and at least it's not Michigan, but that's still. I mean, Penn State, I would say, is more of like in terms of I would say Penn State's more of a rival in terms of winning like the conference this year than Michigan. So I mean, that's pretty to go to a team that like you're competing for the national championship or whatever. Like that's pretty. I mean, there's just not that many examples of that
And
happening that I
honestly,
can
at this
remember.
point, leaving Ryan Day to go serve under James Franklin's a bit of a downgrade.
I think so, but I mean, I guess Penn State was going to pay him 3.1 million as opposed to whatever Ohio State was going to pay him. So,
That'll
well,
work.
it just strikes me as so weird because he was like mad that they didn't extend his deal like before the Notre Dame game, and it was like just
Yeah.
win if you just would have just waited and after you won the national title, you would have got paid. Like it just whatever. People are so
I mean,
weird.
it seemed like a pretty lateral move at the time, and now it seems like almost a downgrade. So
We'll see though. Maybe James Franklin will finally beat Ryan Day. We will see, and then he'll beat Ryan Day, and then Matt Rule will beat him. So there you go.
When
That's my
pigs
prediction.
fly, I don't get the hype for James Franklin or Drew Aller, honestly, either. I don't understand.
I mean,
but
yeah, a lot of Penn State fans don't see the hype, but like man, I don't know, like the James Franklin. When I think about hiring James Franklin or firing James Franklin, excuse me, I just think like, you're gonna Bo Pelini yourself here. It's like I get he hasn't won a lot of big games, but he's also won a lot of games. I mean, he's got him to a lot of big bowl games. He's got him to the Big Ten championship a couple times. So like, I don't know. I do
I
agree.
want them to keep James Franklin because there's always a chance that they call Matt Rule and see if he wants to come to Happy Valley.
Yeah, that does worry me. But
I don't know.
So they play Ohio State in Columbus November 1st, and then they play us November 22nd. Man, that's our second to last game. That's kind of tough.
Seems like it seems like not like I guess recently, but we've played Ohio State. Let's see. I started like really writing about the team like 20 winter 2018. We played Ohio State like 4 times.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
play
they
Ohio State a lot.
haven't played Penn State, I don't think, since the Luke McCaffrey like started that game at quarterback. He got us one chance.
Oh yeah, and then Xavier Betts had a touchdown. I remember that now. It was the COVID year, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was super windy.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the
I
last
remember
time
that game,
played.
yeah.
So it will be interesting, with Matt Rule against his own team. And before that, so really they played when they first joined the Big Ten, they played in 11, 12, and 13. And they played again in 2017 and 2020. So not a lot of meetings. Nebraska's won 4 out of the last 5. So anyway, we'll see if that continues. But Penn State has been, pretty good the past few years. I definitely would put them in the top 3 this year for the Big Ten, but with Oregon and Ohio State. And then I think it's probably Nebraska and Michigan. But there's some other quality teams in there too. So that's going to be a tough. I think Illinois is going to be a really good team again.
I was going to say Illinois. Yep.
They could be this year's Indiana. You never know. Or people keep saying that Illinois. I've not people, but I've seen people say, "Oh, Illinois could be this year's Indiana." You know who I want to be this year's Indiana? Nebraska. That's who should be this year's Indiana. It's Nebraska.
I hope so. I mean, I would take at least 10 wins. That would be nice, and I'm hoping for that year jump that Matt Rule he's known for, and that he said he's excited to build this team. So,
if this team beats Michigan, they really could get on a roll. I mean, they could start like 9-0. I mean, seriously, like if they beat Michigan, they can't stub their toe against Cincinnati. But you beat Michigan, you're 4-0. You got Michigan State at home, Maryland on the road, which isn't easy. Maryland's better than people give them credit for. That's not even a trap game, but that's a game people like when they talk about tough games on our schedule. They don't talk about Maryland enough, and they should. Then at Maryland, at Minnesota, that's kind of a tough stretch. Actually, that's a tougher stretch than
because Minnesota is always tough. I don't care if they're 3-6 coming into their game against Nebraska. They're always tough.
So I bet Nebraska loses one of those 2 games. Honestly,
maybe we'll see Malachi Coleman.
Yeah, maybe. Then Northwestern at home, USC at home, UCLA on the road, which got a lot tougher because they got Nico. So we'll see. That'll be a tough game. Those 3 road games, 4 road games, but Maryland, Minnesota, UCLA, and Penn State, those are all really tough games. So really, if Nebraska, I know we've been talking about this, if Nebraska wants to make the playoff, like they can't lose any games at home. Like if they don't win that Michigan game, they're not making the playoff. Like that's just how there's just unless they upset Penn State in Happy Valley, but that's not really a proposition. Yeah. So I mean,
not yet,
because you look at Minnesota and Maryland back-to-back weeks on the road. Like Nebraska could win both of those games. That would be like a massive step forward to me if they could win both of those games, because I think both of those teams are going to go bowling. So anyway, it's soon enough we can stop talking about it and start watching what Nebraska does on the field, and that's what I'm excited for.
I'm excited for it too, but I'm going to get lots of heartburn on Saturdays, and it's going to ruin my weekend. So that part I'm not excited for, but I am excited for college football again. They got some good opening games, Miami, Notre Dame, to open up the season. Obviously Nebraska plays on the Thursday. Seems like we play on Thursday a lot, but hey, the last Thursday game I think we played was Minnesota, right? 2 years ago. Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Yep. So hopefully this one goes better. Texas, Ohio State to open the season. Yeah. So we could start the season with that and end the season with that.
Yeah,
that could be very possible. Cool. So all right, you guys. Well, we'll be back on Saturday morning for our Saturday morning chat. So come join us then. But before then, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.